Every one of her moans sent sparks of shock down his spine, making him yearn for more. Her warm breath on his neck, her delicate grip around his chest, her long and shapely legs around his waist, and her euphoric warmth around his length, all were his addictions. Even after so many eons together, Hera was still the only woman who could make him feel so exhilarated. She was perfect, from her luscious blonde hair to her powerful golden eyes, from her beckoning pink lips to her soft and warm cheek. From her bodacious breasts to her inviting womanhood, she was perfect. Hera gently kissed his ear and whispered, "I love you too, Zeus." No matter how often or frequent she told him those three words, the genuine affection and love behind them would never falter or weaken. For eons, the goddess of familial love, marriage, motherhood, and women had loved him. There were moments when their love of each other had nearly brought about the end of the world, but regardless, their love remained. No matter how many times his own pathetic urges would take over him, no matter how many times he had betrayed her love for him, no matter how many times he had taken advantage of her faithfulness, she still loved him. The guilt was overwhelming. Every single time Zeus would hear Hera whisper those three words to him, a nearly unsurmountable pressure of guilt would be placed on his shoulders, as if he was holding up the sky. It would rip his heart apart and fill his soul with unbelievable anger. Anger directed at himself. For the rest of his existence he would remember vividly the expression on his wife's face the moment she would find a demigod child of his in the mortal world. The hurt of betrayal and heartbreak his darling wife would give him every single time he failed to prove his love for her. Zeus wrapped his arms around Hera as he continued to thrust into her, trying his all to give her the satisfaction she deserved more than any woman living. He wanted to make her forget about all his other children and women, forget about all the times he had betrayed her. He wanted to start anew with her, his wife, his other half. Zeus Hera's own climax met with her husband's, causing her to cry out in ecstasy. The king of the gods wrapped his arms around his wife and pulled her close, hugging her to his chest. His breathing was starting to level out, but his heart was still in turmoil. All he could do at the moment was hold Hera close to him and try to silently convey that he loved her. "That was amazing," Hera whispered with a sweet smile before she kissed her husband gently on his lips. It was the sacred month of June, and Hera had taken her annual scared bath in order to regain her virginity. She had once again given her husband her maidenhood. It had been so many times she had forgotten how many times he took her first. Despite all, she was proud that she and Zeus shared such a bond. No other couple in existence had such a tradition and record. Hera smiled as she lay on top of her husband's chest. "We're going to have tea dash." She was swiftly cut off as Zeus kissed her hard on the lips, leaning his body upwards until he was sitting upright on their bed. She was a little shocked at the ferocity of the kiss. It had been a very long time since her husband had kissed her so fiercely. It was so intense, Hera found herself moaning into the kiss and wrapped her arms around Zeus' neck to pull him closer. "I love you," he mumbled against her lips. Hera was pushed onto her back as Zeus climbed on top of her, his length growing inside of her again. She moaned blissfully as she felt her husband slide in and out of her. It was a little shocking to see Zeus acting so passionate. It was almost like all those eons ago when they were newlyweds. It made her happy. Being so wanted and lusted by her husband made her feel good. Hera nibbled on Zeus' earlobe and whispered, "I love you, too." Zeus stared down at his wife with his piercing blue eyes, filled with much more love and affection than they usually would. Hera was even more shocked at his gaze. She had forgotten the last time he looked at her in such a way. He lightly laced his fingers with hers and lightly kissed his way from her jawline to her lips, reveling in her heavenly taste. "I love that look on your face," he whispered huskily. "You look happy like that." Zeus wanted Hera to only look happy, not scared, angry, or depressed, and only happy. He would always remember how angry she would look when she would find one of his demigod children, that horrified and betrayed expression. He hated that look. But the expression that would haunt his mind would be how scared and depressed Hera looked when he had chained her above the abyss, threatening to banish her to the infinity of chaos. Whenever he would think about those days he would feel a stab of pain in his heart. He kissed his wife again as he frowned. "I want you to be happy, Hera." "Zeus," Hera began, growing concerned at how strange her husband was acting. "What's going on?" He gave her a soft smile and nuzzled against her neck. "I'm so sorry, my love." After eons, Zeus finally felt ready to say the words he had wanted to say. "I'm sorry for betraying you, for betraying your love for me in our marriage, so many times." Hera's eyes widened as and wrapped her arms around his waist by reflex. "Please know that no matter what happens, no one will ever replace you. You will always be the only one I love so much. I know that it's just empty words and you have every right to feel skeptical, but it's the truth." Hera was more shocked than touched, but she stared into his eyes with welling tears as he gazed down upon her. "Oh really? I don't ever want to lose you." For the first time in eons, Zeus allowed a hint of fear to pass through his eyes. I don't know what would happen to me, how it would change me, if you left me. I would probably go insane and destroy everything in sight. I will never leave you, Zeus, she replied, placing a warm and comforting hand on his cheek. You know that. He reached up and gently held her hand against his cheek with a smile. I promise, from now on you will be the only woman I will make love to. He leaned down to kiss her softly on the lips. Ignoring her surprise. You will be the only woman I will ever kiss, ever hold, ever love like this. Kira's breath hitched as her heart threatened to beat out of her chest. She focused her whole being into listening to his words, wondering if he would finally say it. You are my wife, my queen, my other half. Zeus pressed his forehead against his wife's and stared into her eyes. I, Zeus, Lord of the sky, God of honor, justice, and lightning, and King of Olympus, do swear on the river Styx that I will never be unfaithful to my wife, Hera, goddess of marriage, home, and family. The Queen of Olympus. From this moment on, she will be the only woman I will ever love. Chaos and order strike me down if I ever break this vow. The tears were now flowing freely from Hera's eyes and she shakily cupped her husband's face. See, Zeus. You don't have to say anything. Zeus smiled, feeling mountains lighter than before. I should have said these words the day we married. Sorry for being millennial late. Hera sobbed and pulled Zeus down, holding him as close to her as possible. I love you.